Hey everyone. So I get a lot of requests, well, not a lot, but every now and then I get requests for doing videos about different things, which I encourage. If you have an interesting idea that you would like me to do a reading for, you can always suggest it in the comments. I don't always do them. I have a lot of things that I have as possible subjects to read, and I just kind of choose the one that just kind of feels right at the moment. But I decided to do one that somebody requested about the Great Reset, is what it's called, and not everyone may know what that is. I didn't know what it was until like a couple weeks ago, um, and it's apparently this idea that the world is just changing so much, and um, the corporate world is going to kind of reset its values, and there'll be just like a change in like profit and just the entire industrial world, um, just kind of focus more towards a more green, sustainable type of situation. A lot of people in the conspiracy world talk about this being a kind of like a takeover, a government takeover, and a lot of people who are not into the conspiracies also say that this is a like a scam to kind of um, like for the corporations to continue their power through this method rather, and it's like considered by some to be a capitalist agenda, and then um, some conspiracy theorists say the opposite, that it's like a communist conspiracy. um, and so it's interesting. I kind of found that it was kind of both actually when I looked at it in some regards. But anyways, I'm going to go over what I found in my reading. So, what I was seeing was a lot of wealthy people kind of sneaking out, and it was like they were running away to secure their investments, and taking their money out of what they had it in and putting it in something else. But they're doing it like in this very sneaky way. They don't want to be caught. They don't really want people to see what it is that they're doing, because it's like they want to get they want to get in while they can. They don't want someone else to get in there first. Um, and what I was seeing was this had a lot to do with recycling and solar panels. That was the symbolism I saw. I saw like a recycling symbol on a briefcase filled with money. And I also saw them like these like wealthy people sitting down like a golf course and like setting up solar panels. So it looks like those are two things like that came out specifically when I was reading it. So okay, so the Great Reset is being pushed by certain people, um, and this is more like the corporate world who are trying to make this concept known of, and trying to like push it out into people's consciousness so people are aware of it. And it's because they want it to happen, and they figure if they're able to get people to talk about it, to be aware of it, is going to kind of manifest it in some sense, because if everybody thinks like that's where everything's headed, then that's where they want to go. And then because of that, it just kind of creates like this, snowball effect over time. And the reason why these wealthy individuals want this to happen is because the way things are going, they see it as kind of like a dead end, and it's like there's not very much growth, like financial growth and opportunities within it, and within where we're headed if we don't make these changes. And it's also like part of the green ideology, and it just seems like that's kind of where everything's headed anyways. And so they realize that they can actually make more money off of it because it's like new opportunities, so it's less controlled by just the random people who are in control of whatever business is, and they can kind of get in on it, like swoop in and get in on it. And these people who are really trying to push it, who are trying to seize these opportunities, these are definitely like capitalist type people, like the type of people who would wear a suit and tie to work. However, what's interesting about this is that I wasn't seeing it really working out in their favor in the long run. I was seeing that the government would actually come in and regulate things, and it would at first work out for them, but then long term, like way down the road, like government regulations would come in and kind of steal it away from them, so to speak. And I'm not really seeing the government like trying to push for this so much, although maybe on some level they are, but overall it's more like they're like watching in the background, and they're expecting it and they're planning for it actually. Um, and yeah, they're planning on kind of controlling it, because there's a need for that. Competitions between countries over developing the technology could come up in the future as like a battle for world power, and these are like technologies and systems that would just I don't really know exactly what they would be, but it's like they would make things more efficient in some way, and it would like bring down or bring up, profit in the sense that they're cutting waste and they're not losing as much money, they're not losing as much resources, they're not wasting as much stuff. It's kind of like the recycling symbol, I guess, that I was seeing earlier. So I'm saying this would make the US very strong in the future, and Russia would be gearing up to make lots of technology and competition to try and get in on some of that power grab to become influential and dominant within the world powers. Over the long run, I see the need for this regulation from the government kind of breaking down some of, like, we have a two-party system, and it's like things have to kind of get checked by the opposing side, and it kind of makes it hard for bills to get passed and whatnot. So I was seeing that there would be a little bit less of that, and it would be more about it'd be like there'd be like kind of like how a president can call the shots on certain things. There'll be like certain people who are more in charge of this, and it will make the government a little bit more authoritarian in that regard. There'll be a little bit less of the democratic consensus from the people to kind of call the shots, although I don't see people really protesting this at all. Um, but it will, it will be justified in the eyes of most people, although not all for sure. Um, I'm seeing possibility of war over the battle of these countries trying to kind of um, to control, in the sense that everybody needs to be on board with this plan, and it's important for the whole world to be engaged in this, and so different countries will want to try and enforce that upon the rest of the world and try and kind of like consolidate the world power to their country to be like, the country in control of the world pretty much. So how does this play out? Well, basically, corporations consolidate power at the beginning. Then the government kind of steals those powers with regulations, and it's kind of like going from a capitalist system where the capitalists are really gaining power to a communist system. Not real communism though, because technically within some definition of the word communism, every country that's tried to be a communist country hasn't actually been like the true authentic communist country according to some definitions. Of course that's controversial, but that's how some people say it. So this will not be like the idealistic communist sort of situation. And it could become more like a dictatorship, although I don't ultimately see it being that bad in the long run. And all this war situation, I don't see it being like all consuming, in the sense that if you look at history, there's lots of bad events that happen, and if you just flip through a history book, it looks like very devastating, but there's a lot of peace and harmony in between these things going on, and so I don't see it really being that horrible ultimately. Although the term Great Reset, I don't see that being I see that being a term used like nowadays by like right now by these like capitalists kind of pushing this for what they think will work out for them, and will work out for them a little bit actually, but not as much as they would want. Ultimately, it's a better decision for them than not going along with it. But either way, the Great Reset is only like a small like part of this bigger encompassing plan that it's been kind of planned out in some regards. It's not like it's been planned out entirely. It's like it's not like somebody is behind it all, controlling all of it. It's more like it's kind of natural responses, things that are going to naturally go in that direction, but they're simultaneously being controlled. So there is control, but it's control like over just like whatever would naturally come anyways. And so there's these people who kind of want to control the world, basically, who are behind this, operating through governments. And so they see the need for change as a way to kind of justify wars, and there's a lot of these dark energies behind these people, and these energies feed off of like war and this negative situations like that kind of feed off of negativity. Um, it's almost like when there's positive energy, it kind of goes throughout the aura with the energy field and just kind of circulates within the person. But like devastation, it's like your energy just kind of goes away and you become depleted and you become more tired and more exhausted. And that's one way to kind of recognize when that's happening. And that kind of sends your energy out of your auric field and also allows other energies to come in and kind of, it's not really like you're possessed, but it's more like, when you take on somebody else's energy, people do that all the time just when you're engaging with someone in conversation, or like what people call being an empath. You're kind of absorbing a little bit of their energy. So that's how that works anyways. So back to the topic that I'm talking about. Without these influences of these like darker energies that are pushing for world power and whatnot, without that, naturally what would happen would be that the US adopts new technology and new systems to kind of self-regulate themselves, and other countries would do this as well, but not quite as much as the US is what I'm saying. And this is just for self-preservation and self-efficiency, and just to really survive, pretty much. But when I'm saying this power hunger energy that's kind of affecting humanity, I'm seeing it creating this competition between countries, trying to be the one country in charge. And I'm saying Russia developing more technology as a way to compete, and China sending ships all over the place is what I was seeing, and them like kind of going to other areas and not so much taking over other areas, but more so just like kind of converting their system, their economic system to be compatible with China, so it's almost becomes like an extension of their control, and a way to kind of have control over more things. And this would all be I'm not saying like China is doing this in particular. The US would be doing this as well, and just like all the countries pretty much. And all of this would be just like a battle over who is the one country to kind of instigate these rules that are these necessary rules, and to kind of unify the world within this like reset, if you want to call it that. And so the justification would be that it's like more efficient for it to all be under one control grid, and to it'd be just like more like a one solid machine that's just working together, more unified, rather than separate pieces kind of at odds, not in harmony with the whole thing. So after what I see for this, if this does go through, which I don't, obviously I don't focus on doing future predictions when I do personal readings, and this is like just kind of speculation. Even Nostradamus made many future predictions, and he had different timelines as different possibilities, and we could go this way or and then once we get there, we could go this way or this way or this way or that way. You had different future possibilities because everybody, well, psychics know the future is not set in stone. And so I just do this for entertainment purposes, really, just for my YouTube channel. I don't do future predictions so much and personal readings, but I will talk about the energies that may affect you in the future and how you can change those to have the outcome that you want in the future. But what I am seeing, if this does go that way, is after many years of war, there will be a deal within Europe, like a European country, or just maybe like all of Europe, maybe like the European Union or something like that. I don't know. Something like that will kind of become like the central hub of the like world network power, I guess you could say. Kind of like what the UN has been attempting to do, but has always failed at due to many problems. But this will be not controlled by these like power-hungry people who kind of want like a totalitarian dictatorship under their control from whatever country they may be in. But this is more of a group effort and kind of like a compromise from all sides to kind of give into this, and looks much better. So I don't see these, battles over these countries, these power-hungry people, or these like kind of negative entities or dark energies that are affecting people to be prone towards these sorts of things to continue. But I do see this working out in the end in a more peaceful, interconnected way, where countries are still countries, but there's like this unified agreement coming out of Europe. However, the countries will still have a little bit of trouble here and there, and I do see these. There will still be, power hungry people doing things in these countries, but they'll be a much smaller scale, and they'll be working behind the scenes. They're not going to be like all powerful dictators that everybody knows or anything like that. They'll just be kind of slurking around like as usual, as has been for most of humanity. So that's what I see when I look at the Great Reset. I know this isn't like most of my videos. This was kind of more experimental to see what came up. I'm not sure if this fully answered the questions of the person who requested that I do a video on this. So if there's other insights about this that would be interesting, go ahead and comment. Maybe I'll comment back below this video with something that I see about that. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video, and give it a thumbs up. And that's all I have to say for now. So thanks for watching, and have a great night. Take care.